Hello and welcome to the Pinoy Planeswalker. My name is Felix, and it's been a while since I was able to record a video. I went through some health issues the past few months, but I'm feeling much better now. And though I'm still, pretty much recovering, so to speak, but much better. And with a lot of stuff going on with Magic, I can't help but be excited. And that being said, here's my top 10 commanders from Dominaria United and from the main set and the commander set as well. Now, this is just my opinion, or basically what are the top 10 cards or commanders that interest me the most from Dominaria United. Before we proceed, please know that I'm not a CDH player. I have nothing against it. I do play sometimes. I have a light post deck that can be considered somehow competitive and even a last thrill deck. But as far as this video goes and my list for this set goes, this is more a take on the casual side of it. So again, I'm viewing this under the lens of a casual commander player. So the first thing the first commander I'd like to talk about is Sir V3, the Dragon Master. I was very excited when this was revealed. Finally, it has now been confirmed that Sir V3 is actually a Planeswalker. If you folks remember, this is part, by the way, of the Legends Retold cards. There are 20 box toppers. One is a Planeswalker, so that's CV3, and then 19 cards from the original Legend set that was selected to be part of the box topper. So what I have right now is an image of the etched foil version of it, and currently there are 56 dragons or dragon cards for the said color combination. Of course, not of all those cards are good cards, but one interesting note is that dragon is one of the heavily supported tribes. So only time can tell when we'll be having new additions for the blue and black dragons. Other cards, the cards that I have here on the screen, we have Astral Dragon from Commander Legends Battle for Bardol's Gate. One of my favorite dragons from the set. We also have Skitrix. In fact, it's still a very real thing in the format. We have Silumgar, the Drifting Death, and Kukusho. Other cards that we would like to look at, of course, Manarax. If we'd like to accelerate, because we need to cast those dragons. Those are, if you look at what we have, Astro Dragon, that's 8 mana value. Then we have 2 here that are 6 mana value, and then a 5 mana value for Skitrix. Good thing about the commander is that as a Planeswalker, the +1 ability can protect yourself somehow. If we go back to the card, it shows here that Severe 3, +1 until your next turn. Creatures can't attack you or Planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 2 life for each of those creatures. So if they would like to Alpha Strike you with CV3 in play and that ability activated, then they will be paying a high or hefty price, depending, of course, on the number of creatures that they have. So that's a good way for me. That's a good way to protect, the commander or and of course the Planeswalker itself. Now, the next commander that I would like to, I'm interested to build deck on would be Jasmine Boreal of the 7. If I'm butchering the names, I do apologize. Technically, this would be the second vanilla commander, but this is, this time it's better than Roxa, because it's not just mono green. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if you know me well, if you know me long enough, you know that I prefer mono green a lot. But having additional color is not bad, and adding white. I mean, Celestia is almost always a good thing. Now, for us to consider, of course, we're gonna put in Roxa, the patient professor. This one is the first one that vanilla creatures matter. Strategy commander. Now, for those of you who don't know, when we talk about vanilla creatures, we talk about creatures with no abilities. So those are the creatures that we would like to utilize using the deck, right? So we have Jasmine Boreal, can really make good use of those. The static ability here says the creatures you control with no abilities can't be blocked by creatures with abilities. And we could also use Jasmine Boreal as a mana dork or as a mana producing creature to cast a creature with spells with no abilities. And if you look at Roxa, you may have creatures you control with no abilities assign damage as though they were in block. So that could, that encourages us to really alpha strike and to really, swing for the fences with our creatures. Of course, to help with that, we have cards like Morganda, Petroglyph, and Glorious Anthem. So basically, Anthem effects that would really help out our creatures to, buff up their number and increase the damage that we'll be dealing to our opponents. And since we'll be tapping out and be very aggressive, we would want to have something like Crash the Party, wherein we create a tap 4/4 green rhino for each type creatures you control. And the good thing about those rhinos those creatures doesn't have abilities as well. So our commander Jasmine Boreal will utilize them very well. And just the same as Roxa. Roxa can be considered as the secret commander of the deck. Now, of course, other cards that we can consider are, protection cards and indestructible cards, cards that gives our creatures indestructible until the end of turn, like Grand Crescendo, because our deck is very creature heavy, and a board wipe can really can really set us backwards. So set us back on our strategy. So having cards like Grand Crescendo can really be beneficial for our deck. The next one that I'd like to talk about is Hazezon. Is that correct? I don't know. This is one of the box toppers, and if we look at Landwalk, that is technically a evasion, right? So it encourages us to attack. But the thing is, desert are lands that are rarely used, right? Scavenger ground is the most played amongst the land type based on EDH rec, and it's not even a very high number. So for now, we might, to because if we're thinking, if we're playing a game and we have our mindset on attacking our sand warrior creatures because our opponents have desert walk, chances are we're just fooling ourselves, right? That's the possibility of that happening is not that high unless we're also playing against the same commander. If our opponent has his own as their commander, then chances are that's the case. But if not, then Desert Walk may not be that optimal as a strategy. Now, but I did mention that there are 16. There are other cards, of course, that have the desert type, and there are 16 cards that have that card type that support this color combination. As we have on the screen, I did mention Scavenger Grounds a while ago. We have Desert of Indomitable, which is a good card because if you don't need the card, you can just cycle it out or you can cycling it. You also have Raven Up Rumens. It used to be a standard card when it was legal back then, and it can sacrifice itself. Now, so it enables us to play deserts from the graveyard. You know, our commander does that. So you may play desert lands from your graveyard. The good thing about that is since we're able to cycle and sacrifice our desert lands, we can just, you know, after sacrificing and cycling them out, we can use them later on. And if we have cards like, you know, Azusa, Lost But Seeking. By the way, this is Azusa is my pet card. Been my commander for a long time. It still is my commander and my favorite commander to play. How many commanders I have at the moment? I guess 12. I lost count, but not all of them are competitive again. Most of them are very casual. So going back to Hazazon. So the idea here is to maximize the cards that we have, you know, to sacrifice them and then play them after. And if we can have cards like Crucible of Worlds, right? And if our commander is not there, we can use that. We could also use other cards like Azusa that adds our land count or our land drop for the turn. So those are the things that we can maximize. And of course, being in the Naya colors, we can also use cards like Doubling Season. We could use cards like Parallel Lives, Anointed Possession, and make the most out of the tokens that our commander will be producing. The next one that I'd like to talk about is the Peregrine Dynamo. Now, currently there are 12 legendary creatures already released that are colorless. Okay, 11 are legal, but only 8 of those are playable. One would be the Faceless one, and I forgot the first one from Commander. That's not those are not playables. You know, I mean, if you'd like to play them, by all means, go ahead. But I don't think that realistically they're not that playable. But I think the Peregrine Dynamo will be the 9th, and actually maybe the most unique of the 9 colorless commanders or legendary creatures that we can play. So some of the cards that I think can be considered are one of them is Little Form Engine. It works wonders on the deck. Activating this artifact, you know, most of the time means that we're copying something that's good. So if you can double that, thanks to our commander, the Peregrine Dynamo, then, you know, by just paying 1, right, then we'll have more benefits to it. Of course, again, this is mana intensive, right? Because if you'd like to say copy target permanent spell, of course you have to cast something first, right? Or of course you could also copy whatever your opponent is doing, right? If your opponent cast a permanent that you like, you copy that. So the floor is you have to have at least. I mean, if you're planning to copy a permanent using the Little Form Engine, you would have to at least have 5 mana available because you have to pay 1 as well to activate our commander's ability, the Peregrine Dynamo. The good thing is that our commander have haste, so if you have the excess mana, you could, you know, start doing, you know, if you start doing stuff, you could copy the ability, you know. Same thing with the Deck of Many Things, right? It gives us a random result. It's not as targeted as Little Form Engine, right? But still, you know, having the opportunity to double what the Deck of Many Things can do. For example, we could the floor here is that you could return a card at random from your graveyard to your hand. If you could double that, right, with our commander copying the Deck of Many Things, right, that's already a good thing if you ask me. But then again, we have to roll it. We're not copying the result of the die roll, but we're copying the activate ability of roll a d20, right? So again, if the floor is having to return a card at random from your graveyard to your hand and having that same result after you copy the roll a d20, that's still a good thing, right? You're paying 3 to return 2 cards from your graveyard to your hand. And then we have Inventor's Fair. Now, what we're going to do here is that we're going to sacrifice Inventor's Fair, and then with that activated ability, we can search for an artifact card, right? So we search for an artifact card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and shuffle the library. So we can also copy that, right, from our commander's ability, and then so basically we're paying 5 to search for 2 cards. I mean, it's not the most efficient way to tutor, but still, and of course we'll be sacrificing Inventor's Fair for that. But this is just an example of what I would like to include in the deck. Now, one of the what I feel is one of the most underplayed cards is Aetherworks Marvel, and it being underplayed is still understandable technically. But if you look at the current state of the game, right, and how many treasure producers there are, how many clues, how many cards that produce clues, food, and all those kind of tokens that is to be sacrificed, that have this activated ability that you have to sacrifice them. So that means that with all those things going on, whenever a permanent you control is put into a graveyard whenever a permanent you control is put into a graveyard, you get 1 energy counter. So we have ways to produce tokens, right? To produce food tokens and clues or whatnot. We have Academy Manufacturer. So with those kind of cards, and other token producers for those particular types, we can definitely maximize Aetherworks Marvel. I'm sorry if I lost my train of thought there, but just imagine doing Aetherworks Marvel twice, right? In the expense of paying X amount of counters. I believe that's 6, right? And then pay 1 generic, copy that, and then do it twice. That sounds value, if you ask me. I mean, it may be slow, right? But the good thing about this is that the options may be very few right now, for Peregrine Dynamo, but it doesn't mean that we can't start building on it, right? Doesn't mean that we're investing on something that is that may not pan out. It is possible that it may be like that, but that's the thing about Magic, right? We build decks that we think will actually be good, and then the value suddenly dips, right? That also happens in other formats. And again, if you're looking at it in a casual setting, then we're not playing in a table wherein the opponent or opponent will be comboing off by turn 4 or 5, right, or turn 3. So the deck is slow, I know that, but I think it's very fun and very interesting. Now, the next one is one of the most popular commander from the set is Ivy, Gleeful Spell Thief. And the first time I saw this card, I was thinking that, wow, this is actually very good. It's too good that I was backing out from. I mean, I was trying to stay away from it as much as I can because I don't like commanders that are too good, right? But this to me looks like Light Pause. That's why I was drawn to it a bit. And what the deck tries, I mean, for me, what the deck tries to send a message here is that we can build a spell slinger deck to it, spell around it. I'm sorry, spell slinger deck around it. We could have cards like spelled wild oof, right? Where in spells that target spell wild oof cast 2 less to play. Because the thing about the commander is that the spell that targets needs to target a single creature other than Ivy. So that is the important thing there. So of course we can still target our commander. That's fine. But if we do that, we will not be able to double the target. I mean, have a second copy of whatever it is that targets our commander. So the idea of having spell wild oof be targeted, by example, Bear Umbra. Imagine just paying paying 2 green for Bear Umbra, targeting Spellwild Oof, and then creating another copy of Bear Umbra that will now be enchanting our commander, right? So that is also why Heroic seems like a good idea for the deck, because if we have Heroic, we'll be targeting those creatures, like for example, Sage of Hours, right? And then adding those those counters to those heroic creature, or to the heroic creature that we targeted, right? And then our commander will be having a copy of whatever. Um, our commander will have a copy of the aura that targeted it, or if we're using like something like a G growth effect, we'll also have the same benefit that G growth provides. Now, Gem Razor, or for example, Mutate, yes, because we can use this because Mutate is a spell, right? If we cast our creature for its Mutate cost, it's a spell that will be targeting a single creature, right? So, because for now, I mean, we don't know how Mutate will look like in a few years, if there will be a returning mechanic for Mutate. But as of where it stands right now, that's how it works, right? It targets a single creature, and that fulfills the trigger event for our commander. That's why I like this. But the thing about this is that it it will really I mean, once your deck gets going, it may be very hard for a player to track all the tokens that there is. But that's part of the challenges of having a deck like this. But for me, it's fun. It's very interesting, and a different take for a blue green commander, or a Simic commander, as they say. Now the next one is Tetsuo Imperial Champion. Now the triggered ability, if equipped, really does showcase how awesome this card, the character is, right? It shows that Tetsuo is someone who was gifted in martial arts, archery and swordsmanship. At first glance, an equipment Voltron Commander theme makes sense, and it's probably the best route to take. Now, though the other mode can be utilized as well with suspend cards and other lower or equal mana value instant or sorcery. Key for both modes, higher mana value among equipment attached. So we have to look for that. We have to check, the mana value that is equipped on our commander. Now, my examples here may not be the best to showcase, the high mana value thing, but having a Basilisk Scholar, giving Death Touch to our commander is just plain brutal, to be honest. And Conqueror's Flail is just too good. It's good. Not just its buff, it buffs our commander, but during our turn, our opponents pretty much can't cast, any spell, because as the ability said, as long as the Conqueror's Flail is attached to a creature, opponents can cast spell during your turn. So that's very good. Your opponent can't do Path to Exile on your commander, or do a spot removal on your commander, which is that's good. We could also use cards like Brass Wire. Now, it is a repeatable magnetic theft. So, of course, magnetic theft would also be used in the deck. Now, Profane Tutor and other suspend cards work perfectly here. When our commander is equipped, let's say even with Basilisk Scholar, because the mana value of a suspend card, there's nothing on it, right? It's not even zero, so there's no mana value there. So, as our commander's ability said, um, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to the highest mana value among equipment attached to Tetsuo. So, without paying its mana cost. So, there. Next one may be Zur, Eternal Schemer. When this was revealed, I immediately knew that I'll be interested to this version of Zur. I've always been drawn to enchantments, and I've built enchantment decks like 3 times already. No, I already have the 4th one, which is Goshen Tai. The first one was the Estrid, the commander from a precon way back. Now, the interesting here is that it does work well with Zur, the enchanter, by tutoring what enchantment we actually need, right? Now, provided that its mana value is 3 or below. So that's why, of course, we can consider that. But also, looking at cards like Starfield of Nyx, right? It enables our non-enchantment creatures to be actual creatures. Might be the first pick for everyone brewing this commander. Now, Terrace Guards will, works well too, right? Now, Constellation Triggers is ability. It's a very good ability. And adding those keywords from our commander adds value to these cards. Just imagine having a Doomwake Giant that is that touch lifelink and hexproof, and it still have Constellation, right? And of course, why not just give everything enchantment? Just make everything enchantment and maximize the Constellation that you're going to have, right? So next one is Alice Ilcor, Sadistic Pilgrim. Now, it may be a contender to Aura, Skyclave Hierophant as a carry commander, but that's debatable. Some people would still consider this as a 99 for that deck, but this has been talked about already. But it is a good option for a commander. As a commander for a deck that have Lurus as a companion. Now, so of course, having Lurus as a companion enables us to cast 1 permanent spell with mana value 2 or less from our graveyard. What it actually does, it provides extra copies of those cards, of those permanent that have that mana value. So technically, it gives us additional copies of Children of Corliss, right, or Selfless Spirit and the likes, to sacrifice them repeatedly, and during each of our turn, we may cast those particular permanent, right? So that's one thing. I also like Ascend from Avernus. It works well in our deck. Pay 5 to, it pays X and 3 white, right? So if let's say, for example, that we pay 3, right? We pay 6, right? We pay 6, and we return 3 creatures, right? Right. Okay, I'm wrong. So we return all creatures and planeswalker cards with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile Ascended from Avernus. So we pay 5, right? To return to the battlefield any number of creatures that we have that have mana value 2 or less. So let's say that the floor is at least 3, right? So we return three creatures from our graveyard to the battlefield, right? And they all have hopefully they have decent triggered ability. If not, they have abilities like Children of Corliss, right? To me, that's already good. And the other card that I would also consider is Carnival of Souls. Now, disenchantment's triggered ability of losing life will easily be negated with the amount of life that we will be gaining from our commander. So it almost as if whenever a creature comes into play, you add one black mana to your mana pool. Because our commander, right, already have the ability that whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain one life. So that already negates that. And we also have cards. I mean, we'll be also having cards like Soul Warden, or basically the Soul Sister package. So that, Carnivals of Souls, you know, downside, air quotes downside for that lose one life, easily negated. That I can tell you. So the next one is Braids. And the first version of Braids is still banning Commander because that's very oppressive. Right? And this version is technically considered as a fixed version of Braids. Now, Sacrifice Matter, is a well-known strategy in the format. Same goes, it works well with aristocrats as well, right? Some may not be happy with this legendary creature because it gives our opponent an option that losing 2 life if they decide not to sacrifice may seem a small amount, but with incremental aristocrat triggers, right? Those small amounts will eventually add up. And I don't think there will be many people, many players that would just allow you to draw 3 cards, right? Even if let's say that life is a resource. I mean that's true. Life is a resource in the game of Magic, and losing 2 life may not be that big of a deal. But then again, our opponents. I mean, for each opponent who doesn't sacrifice, right, the permanent type that we did, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. So that's for each opponent. So if all of them, if all 3 of them, right, don't sacrifice, I mean, did not sacrifice, we'll be drawing 3 cards in exchange of 1 permanent. And I don't think many players would just be okay with that. So the likelihood of them sacrificing something is very high. Now, I mean, it's not very high, but it is, favorable to us. I guess that's a better term. Now, I like Giza, the Glorious Resurrector. So if an opponent sacrifices a creature or a creature dies, that will be exiled by Giza and can be resurrected by this. But can be resurrected by this human wizard's triggered ability. Because actually, if you notice, the Giza has this ability that at the beginning of your upkeep, put all creatures exiled with Giza onto the battlefield under your control. They gain Decay. Okay, or yeah. So the other thing that I would like to add here is a background from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. Is Agent of the Iron Throne. Now, this is just adding to the drain life thing, the aristocrat thing. Now, Ophiomancer, I also like this card. Now, it's very important to note here that just like Giza, the trigger of Ophiomancer happens at the beginning of each upkeep, right? I mean, it happens during the upkeep. So Ophiomancer is different because it happens at each upkeep. Now, the good thing about this is, right, for Ophiomancer, at the beginning of each upkeep, at the beginning of each upkeep, if you control no snakes, create 1, right? And that will almost be always the case because on our upkeep, we'll be creating one on during our end step, right? Wherein our commander triggers, we'll be sacrificing that same snake. So we'll be sacrificing that token within that same turn. So that works well for us. And Tenacious Underdog is just an example of the other creatures that we can repeatedly sacrifice, right? Or we can sacrifice. We can repeatedly sacrifice and then recast and use the following turn. Um, following turn, right? So our turn, of course, because we could cast Blitz. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say there. Because with Blitz, when this if we pay the Blitz cost, so we pay life. With the Tenacious Underdog, we pay 2 life. We also pay 2 mana and 2 black. So when this creature dies, draw a card, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So we sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. But the thing is, we could still sacrifice it with our commander because since it's our trigger, we could stack the trigger in the order that we like, right? Since it's all our triggers anyways. The next one, actually for me, this is the best one. The most interesting one is Cadric Soulkinder. Now, for me, this is a very interesting take for a Boros commander, or Borehold, whatever you want to call it, a red-white commander. On a personal note, Osgir might be the most innovative. Osgir would always have a special place in my heart. I love that commander. I love what it does. But Cadric feels very special too. Now, creating a token of a legendary permanent, right, which gains haste, maybe a signal of it could be a very aggressive deck. Maybe it could also be a signal for something that's a bit combo related strategy. But the things that I would consider, or the cards that I'd like to highlight here, first of all, determined iteration. For me, it is a gem here. With populate, we can technically double a token that we've created. So since our commander is producing or can produce a token that's a copy of it, right? And since the legend rule doesn't apply, so just imagine being able to populate one of the commanders that we produce. One of the legendary creatures that we produce, right? So that's a gem right there. We have to sacrifice at the beginning of end step, of course. That's a thing, but that's also a thing that a commander does, right? Now, since that is an ongoing theme of the deck, of course, we're going to have Sanda of the Infinite. It's almost an auto-include for decks that highlight, such effects that we have to sacrifice or do something that's not really beneficial for us. During the end step or whatnot. So rather than going to the end step, we might as well end the turn, right? And since we're ending the turn, the beginning of end step did not happen, so we're keeping our stuff. Now just imagine Italy, right? Now, one of the downside of Italy, not just its mana value of 6, is that it doesn't have haste. But when it hits you, right, when it's able to swing, it's really painful. And just imagine being able to do that with just one, with Cadric in play, right? We just have to pay 1 additional mana to be able to do that, right? Just imagine having 2 Italis being able to swing, right? If we have determined iteration in play when we do that. Now, I have Mangara of the Corondor here, Mangara of Corondor, because with the token that we can create with our commander, right? We could just activate the ability because the token would have haste. and then exile the token and the permanent. Now that's my list. Again, I don't think that this is the most um, that this 10 commanders are the most powerful from the set. I believe Joyra is very powerful. Joda is powerful as well. But for me, these are the 10 cards that are most interesting and most appealing for me. That I can see myself, building a deck. Will I build all 10? Most likely not. But it's not even realistic for me. But these are the 10 commanders that are. I mean, it's not realistic financially for me. But these are the 10 commanders that I see myself, leading into, that I'm most excited with and I'm most interested to build a deck and to brew. And I'm curious to know your thoughts on my list. If you have if you have your other top 10, if you disagree with my list, just comment down below. If you agree with my list, just do the same. If you have other cards that you would include based on the commanders that I have featured here today, please go ahead and do that. With that, I'll be ending this video. If you like this content, the channel is very new. Please give it a like and subscribe. That would be much appreciated. If you could share this to other people that you think would like the video as well, please go ahead and do that. And we also have different socials. We have an Instagram, a Facebook page, of course. We also have a blog that's been going on. The blog is started for a few years already, and please do check that out. All the details of the links would be on the description. So that's it from me. Please stay safe and keep supporting your local game store. And again, stay safe and have fun. Thank you.